Hey, welcome to Video 2. As promised, here is the first story that changed the world. When I was 8 years old, I started going to a summer camp every summer for 7 years, and it lasted 8 weeks. And when I was at this camp, I was in a cabin, with 12 other guys. And the first year I went to the camp, the first day that I was in that cabin with these other people, one of the boys in the cabin stole the wallet of the counselor, the adult that was in the cabin with us that was responsible for taking care of us. Stole his wallet, hid it in my stuff, and made sure that the counselor found out about it. And the counselor believed that I had done this. And so for 8 weeks, this counselor hated me and made it very, very clear that he hated me. Now, when this happened to me, 8 years old, I don't remember being angry. I don't remember being hurt. But I remember thinking to myself, they don't know me. I haven't done anything to upset them or to make them think I'm a bad guy or anything. Why would somebody do that to me? I just don't get it. That's what I remember. Now, I didn't know at that time, 8 years old, that that same kind of a pattern was going to repeat for decades. And that as it repeated, me being blamed for something that I didn't do, me getting grief or getting punished or getting negativity from something that I didn't really do, that kind of a thing. And the anger that would rise from it continuing to repeat year after year, decade after decade, would ultimately lead me to the big breakthroughs that changed my life and that has me here helping you to change yours. And here is the second story that changed the world. You're looking now at a photo of my grandfather. His name was Sheinfild. And if you're familiar with some of the teachings that I've shared in the past, you already know a little bit about him and the impact that he had on my life. My grandfather was an extraordinary man, multi-talented, multi-gifted. He was the happiest person that to this day I've ever known. He was brilliant. He played the piano beautifully. He played the guitar beautifully. He was funny. And from the perspective of money and business, he turned a simple idea into one of the world's biggest companies called Manpower Group. Last year, I believe Manpower did in excess of $20 billion with a B dollars in sales. Again, one of the world's largest and most successful companies. Now, growing up in this family with this gigantic success story and this amazing guy, when I was a kid, being the very curious in your face, constantly asking why and questions and stuff, I became aware that there was something mysterious behind my grandfather's success. And so when I was 12 years old, I kept bugging him every time I saw him. Now, he lived in a city called Chicago in the United States, and I lived in Milwaukee, about 2 hours away. So I didn't see him that much, but when I saw him or I talked to him on the phone, I was always bugging him, what's the secret to your success and how amazing you are and everything, Gramps, And he kept putting me off. And then one day, he took me aside and he said, I'm going to answer your questions. And here's what he said to me. Bobby, which is what they called me back then, there is the visible world and there is the invisible world. And most people, when they want to achieve goals, they want to produce results, they want to get things in their life, they focus on the visible world and they do it in all kinds of ways. But the real power, the real wisdom, the real answers are in the invisible world. And I learned how to access this invisible world and how to tap the power and the wisdom and the answers there. And my ability to do that is the true cause and source of all of the success that I've had, including the idea for Manpower. All the gifts that I appear to have, everything that you see as being successful and good about me. The source is always coming from the invisible world, no matter what appears to be happening in the visible world that links to that. And then he said something that haunted me and gave me a great gift for the rest of my life. He said, Bobby, as you grow up, you're going to hear things that sound like that invisible world power, unconscious mind, subconscious mind, universal laws, energy, all these different kinds of things. You're going to hear things that sound like what I just told you. But that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about goes much deeper, and it's something that very few people know about. And the few people who do know about it don't talk about it very much. And so what that built inside of me was a hunger to discover what was this power and wisdom and answers in this invisible world. Because I wanted it. I wanted to be able to tap that like he did. And if it's visible, if it's obvious, if it's in a book that's easy to get, a video that's easy to watch, an audio that's easy to listen, a workshop, a seminar, whatever, if it's visible and easy to get to, that's not it. That's the seed that got planted in my mind. Now, this was a relatively brief conversation. It was in person over a cup of hot chocolate in Switzerland, actually. And I only had a couple of other brief conversations with my grandfather, and then he died suddenly and quickly, leaving me with what I call a gigantic tease. Because, you know, he told me this, he dangled this in front of me. I really wanted it badly. But he didn't give me any nuts and bolts. He didn't give me any practical. He didn't give me a user's guide or a user's manual to what is this invisible world and how to tap it. And so it created within me a hunger to find out what it is that he was talking to me about. Now, I was 12 years old, you know, and I got the core of this, but I was a kid, you know. So I continued doing kid things until my early 20s when I left college without graduating. College was not my thing, school was not my thing, although I loved to learn. And I began my serious search in my early 20s to find out what my grandfather had been talking about and how I could tap it for myself. To discover what those two stories set into motion for me, how they led to the big breakthroughs that forever changed my life when nothing else ever did, how those big breakthroughs ended up changing the world, and how those same big breakthroughs can forever change your world too. Continue on to video 3 by clicking the button below.